Welcome back to Monster Tamer, a 2D Pokemon-like RPG created Phaser 3. Previously, we worked on persisting our data in our options scene to our browser local storage. If you missed the previous videos, there'll be links in the video description to the source code up to this point, as well as the complete source code for this video. There'll also be a link to previous videos if you'd like to catch up, so let's get started. Alright, so now we have our logic in place for persisting our data from our options scene to our data manager. What we're going to do next is we're going to work on connecting this to our battle scene. And so what we're going to end up doing is currently in our battle scene, in our battle menu, we have some hard-coded values for our text speed. And so what we want to do is we want to modify this value of 50 to change depending on what option's selected here. And so if it's slow, it'd be a smaller value. If it's fast, it'd be faster. And then likewise for our battle scene option, when we have this set to off, we want to use that for skipping our animations. And so currently in our battle scene, we're grabbing this value from our global config in our file, and instead we want to grab that from our options menu. And so to get started, to make testing a little bit easier, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to our preload scene. We're going to update our starting scene, and what we'll do is we're going to do our battle scene. And then in our battle scene, what we need to do is we need to know if we're going to skip animations. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add a new property to our class, and we're going to go ahead and assign this value based on our value from our data manager. And so for this property, we're going to go ahead and make it private, and we're going to call it skip animations. And we're going to use this for knowing if we need to skip our text animations and skipping our animations on our monster and like when they appear on our screen. And so for our type, what we'll do is we're just going to copy this. We'll change it to a Boolean. And then for setting this value, what we're going to do is we're going to come down to our init method. And so when our class is initialized, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to grab this value from our data manager. And if it doesn't exist, we'll go ahead and default to false for skipping animations. And if it is set for skipping, then we'll go ahead and set this to true. And so for us to go ahead and do this, what we're going to do is we'll make a new variable, do const, and we'll do chosen battle scene option. And we're going to set that equal to our data manager. And we're going to do our store to reference our Phaser data manager. And then we're going to go ahead and use the get method to try to retrieve a value. And so for our value, we're going to go ahead and use our data manager store keys, and we're going to grab our options battle scene animations. And so when we grab a value from our Phaser data store, it's going to be undefined if it doesn't exist. Otherwise, it'll be whatever value we set it to. And so just to have a safeguard, we're going to make sure that our chosen battle scene option is not equal to undefined. So if it is, what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and set our skip animations equal to false. And we'll go ahead and return. And then what we'll do real quick is outside our return statement, we're going to go ahead and set this to true. So in addition to our safeguard, we'll want to go ahead and check to see if our option is set to on. And so we're going to do or our chosen battle scene option is equal to our battle scene options, and if it's set to on. And so if our setting is on, we don't want to skip animations, and if it's off, then we'll go ahead and do our fallback and we'll set it to true here. All right, so now that we have this value, what we can do is we can replace in our config.js file, we can actually remove our skip battle animations variable here. All right, and so then what we just need to do is in our battle scene, we just need to go ahead and update our references to this value and replace it with our class property. And so we're going to go ahead and do this, skip animations. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this, and we're going to do a find and replace. And so we're going to replace all of our instances with that value. And then we can go ahead and remove that from our imports. All right, so if we go ahead and save, we should see an error in our console. And so if we jump over to our battle menu, we're also referencing our skip battle animations from our config here. And so what we're going to do is instead of accessing our data manager inside this class, we're going to go ahead and update our class instance to expect a property with a default value. And then that way, that's going to allow us to pass in this property from our battle scene for skipping our animations. And so what we're going to do is let's go ahead and remove this line of code. And for skipping our animations, we're going to go ahead and modify one of our existing properties and make it more generic. And so currently we have our queued message skip animation property that gets set when we're updating our text in our battle menu. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and modify this. We're going to call it skip animation. And basically this new property will be used for anywhere where we're skipping animations, and we'll go ahead and just use this value. And so because we're doing that, what we need to do is update our property in our constructor. And then we need to go ahead and add in a new argument that can be passed in. And we're going to call this skip battle animations. And then what we'll do is we're going to add a default value of false, and then that way it's optional. And so we're going to change this skip animations to be equal to our skip battle animations. So with our changes, we need to go ahead and refactor some of our code. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is in our update info pane message and wait for message input, we're going to go ahead and just remove this line of code here. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of our skip animation since we will no longer need that for our method. And we'll just use our property on our class. So then we can go ahead and change our reference down here inside our update info pane with message to be reference our skip animations. And then down here in our code, we can go ahead and just get rid of skip battle animations since we're just referencing our property on our class. All right, so one other change we're going to do is let's come up to our method for update information pane with no input required. And let's go ahead and get rid of that skip animation parameter. And we're going to also reference our new class property. All right, so if we go ahead and save, our scene should refresh and we should see things are working now. But what we need to do is back in our battle scene, we had a few instances where we were passing our skip animations, and because we passed this when we create an instance of our battle menu, we no longer need to do that when we call our methods for updating our text. So let's go ahead and remove those from our code. And got a few more spots in our state machines. And all right, and then, oh, we have one more, so let's go ahead and remove that. And we'll go ahead and save. All right, so then what we need to do is we just need to go ahead and update where we create our battle menu instance and then pass in our property for skipping our animations. So if we come to the bottom of our create method, we'll have our battle menu. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do this, and we'll do skip animations. So now if we want to go ahead and test our changes, we should see our battle scene appears, and we should be able to go ahead and do a quick battle. And it looks like all of our animations are still playing. We have our attack animations and our damage animations. Nice. So then if we want to go ahead and test skipping our animations, let's jump back over to our preload scene, and we're going to jump into our options scene. And let's go ahead and turn off battle scene animations, and let's save our changes. Back in our code, we'll start up our battle scene, and we'll see right away when our scene refreshes, we go right to the state where we expect player input, our monster's on the screen, and we're not doing any text animations, and we're not doing any attack animations. All right, so now we validate our logic for updating our animations is working in our battle scene. What we're going to do next is we're going to work on our text speed. And so what we're going to do is let's jump over to our config file, and we're going to go ahead and define a new object to store some of our text speed values, and then that way we can map them to the option that was selected. And so what we're going to do, we'll do export const, and we're going to do text speed. And we're going to go ahead and set this equal to object.freeze. And then for our object keys, we'll do slow. And we're going to set this equal to 50. We're going to do medium. And we'll set that equal to 30. And then fast, we're going to set that equal to 15. And then so now what we need to do is we need to map our currently selected text speed option to one of these values. And so we're going to go ahead and do this inside our data manager. And then that way we can just use our data manager for getting our text speed that we want to use. And the reason we're going to go ahead and put this logic in there is because currently we have two places where we want to display text to the player, and we have animations. So in our battle scene, we have our text animations that appear. And in our world scene, when the player interacts with our NPCs or one of our objects, we have text animate there as well. And so by centralizing this to our data manager, we can reference it from one spot. So then what we're going to go ahead and do is if we jump over to our data manager, we're just going to make a new method for getting this value. And so what we'll do is we'll come down below our save data method, and we're going to add a new public method, and we're going to call this get We're going to call this get animated text speed. And so from this method, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our data from our Phaser data store and then go ahead and map that to our various options. And so we'll do a new variable, do const, we'll do chosen text speed, and then we're going to go ahead and reference our data managers. We'll do this, we'll do our store, and then we're going to do get, and so let's do our data manager keys, and we'll do our options text speed. So then what we'll do is we'll just add a safeguard. If this is undefined, we'll return a default value, and so we'll do chosen. So if our chosen text speed is undefined, let's go ahead and return text speed from our config, and we're going to go ahead and set it to medium. Then if this value is defined, we're just going to do a simple switch statement, and we'll do our chosen text speed. All right, so then inside our switch statement, we'll just have our various cases. So we'll go ahead and do case, we'll do our text speed options, and we will do fast first. And so if it is set to fast, we're going to go ahead and return our text speed and our fast value. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and we'll do our two other cases. And so we're going to have mid and then slow. And we will have medium, and then we will have slow. And then we'll just go ahead and round this out with our default. We'll do our exhaustive guard. And we'll go ahead and do chosen text speed. All right, and real quick, to fix our IntelliSense, we need to go ahead and just update our type for chosen text speed. And so for our text speed, because Phaser comes back with any from our data manager, what we're going to go ahead and do is we'll add in our JS doc type. And so for our type, we want to go ahead and set this to our text speed menu options or undefined in case our Phaser data manager returns undefined. All right, so with our logic for our new method, what we should be able to do is update our battle menu to call our new method on our data manager. And so what we'll do is in our battle menu class, let's go ahead and find where we're calling our animate text method. And instead of using our hard-coded 50 value here, we want to go ahead and use our data manager. And then from our data manager, we'll call our new method. So we'll get our value. And then what we need to do is let's go ahead and update that reference and our other animate text method. All right, so real quick before we test our changes, let's jump over to our dialog UI class. And what we're going to do is we're also going to update our reference here for where we're calling our delay on our animate text. And so we'll go ahead and import our data manager, and we'll have our get animate text speed. All right, so now to actually test all our changes, what we need to do is let's jump over to our preload scene. And let's go ahead and start our options scene. All right, so what we'll do is we'll keep our text speed on slow, so that way should be the value we had before. And let's go ahead and turn on our battle animations. We should be able to see our text. So now in our preload scene, let's go ahead and start our battle scene. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we should see our text still animate, and it looks about the same as before. So then what we can do is let's jump over to our option scene again, and let's go ahead and set it to fast. So there should be a very big difference. And then back in our preload scene, we'll toggle back. Our scene starts. Ah, nice. And so now we see when our text appears, it's much faster. All right, so now we've validated it's working in our battle scene. Let's just validate our world scene's working properly. And so from our preload scene, we'll jump to our title scene. And let's go ahead and go into our new game. And let's go ahead and interact with one of our signs. And now we see our text is very fast. And if we go ahead and refresh, we should be able to toggle our various options and just make sure everything's working properly. All right, and then real quick, we're just gonna go ahead and test our last option. So we'll go back to slow. So this was our original value. And if we interact with our sign, we should see our text appear. All right, with that actually brings this video to an end. In our next video, we're going to go ahead and work on adding in the functionality to go ahead and save and load our data for our whole game. And so what we're going to do is from our world scene, we're going to add an option to save our data. And then that way we can persist data like our player's position. And then from our main menu, we'll go ahead and enable our continue option. And then that way when we start our world scene, we'll have our data from where our player's at. So as a reminder, there's a link in the description of the video to the complete source code for this video. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did enjoy the video, Please consider liking the video and hitting the bell icon to be notified when the next video in the series is released. For more Great Phaser 3 content, please see the links on your screen now.